Being authentic, it really is a superpower. It's one of the most important skills that you can develop. I know this because I've lived it, not just because I'm a psychotherapist and I've trained and thought about this, and this is like a big part of my life and professional life, but it's been a part of my personal journey of healing as well. If you listened to the podcast episode yesterday, which if you haven't done it, I hope that you would, because I talked about how the environment that you're in can contribute or take away from your ability to be your authentic self. And I shared a very personal story on how I was impacted by the way that I was raised and my own desire to be authentic. And I spent so much of my childhood anxious, depressed, sad, and suicidal. And I mean like dangerously suicidal. And I recognize all of it was because I wasn't being my true self. I was so busy pleasing other people, most specifically my father, or trying to please other people, that when I failed at doing so, the challenge and difficulty was so significant that I would rather have have ended my life than live with that difficulty. And I'm going to get into today what you need to be doing instead and how you can take on your authentic self and like really gain that superpower and how it will transform your life. So welcome back to the aha moments, where every day I share the lessons I've learned in my work as a psychotherapist and in my life to inspire you to live your very best life. Of course, I'm your host, Elliott Connie, and it really is that serious. I know, like, I'm talking about suicide, I'm talking about death, and I'm talking about depression and anxiety, but like, it really is that serious. It is legitimately that serious. It is very much that serious. And I want you to understand that when you spend your time trying to appease others, you are sacrificing who you actually are. And when you start sacrificing who you are eventually going to have to pay a price for that sacrifice. You're going to have to deal with that you're not living in your authentic space. And that's where your true strength is. And I know I've shared this before. I can't remember if I've shared it on a podcast, but I've written it in books and I've shared it other places. But when I came into this field, like, embarrassingly, I was trying to fit in, i.e. trying to please other people. I wasn't being the version of me that is my true authentic self. I'm a black man from the hip hop culture, and that impacts the way I dress, the way I talk, the way I act. That impacts everything. And then I come into the psychotherapy field where there's not a whole lot of people like me, and I wanted to fit in with them. And it's a very conservative environment. It's very different from the environment that I came up in. And I wanted to fit in. I wanted their respect. I wanted to be able to work on some professional projects. I wanted to be like the people I admired and that I studied in graduate school. And I'll never forget one day, and I dressed that way. I would wear like a button-down collared shirt and, beige slacks and all these things when I was teaching. I remember one day getting ready to go speak. My grandmother had passed away not too long before, and then I had an uncle who I was very close. And this man, I'll probably talk about him later this week too, but his greatest strength in the world is he was unapologetically himself. And he had passed away, and I was getting dressed to go give a talk in Toronto while all of this is happening. And then I was going to go to Denmark and teach in Denmark. And I looked in the mirror and I did not recognize myself. And I was ashamed. I was ashamed because I thought if my grandmother and my uncle could see me right now, they would not be proud of me. Because what they want more than anything else for their grandson is for me to like shine in my own space instead of trying to fit in somebody else's. And I remember getting to Denmark, and I had clothes I would wear when I was like just being a tourist in these cities I was going to. I was going to Copenhagen. And I had clothes I would wear when I would teach. And I was getting dressed the morning in Denmark. And I'll never forget, I actually have a picture somewhere in my phone or wherever it is, where I was like, I had this blue t-shirt, these gray pants, and these blue shoes that matched the t-shirt. And that's my style. And I said, I'm going to teach like this today. And that was the first time I ever wore an outfit like that. And people they called me unprofessional, but I was proud of myself because I recognized who I was seeing in the mirror. And that's the superpower. Shockingly, I mean, and people did. They called me unprofessional and they said all these things, but surprisingly, it's made me infinitely more successful. People are attracted to authenticity and they want to be around people who are being authentic. And it's a good decision for your life, for your business, for your work, for whatever. So the number one lesson I want you to get from listening to me share this is your authentic self is your superpower. It is scary, but once you just decide I'm going to be my true self, I promise things will start working out in your favor. So my encouragement is for you to discover who you are really and be that person and watch how things unfold. Thanks for being here. If you wouldn't mind doing me a super huge favor, I would love it if you would share this podcast with at least one person in your life that you think could benefit from hearing this message today. And also don't forget to subscribe on Apple Podcasts or anywhere else you listen to your podcast. And also follow me on all of the social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Blue Sky. You can search for my name, Elliott Connie, or at Elliott Speaks. That's my handle across all platforms. Can't wait to see you tomorrow.